Have you ever met someone who looks at you once and it feels as though they've already read the entire story of your soul? They don't need to speak, because their eyes seem to whisper every truth you thought you had hidden. You stand there feeling strangely exposed, torn between fascination and fear. People like this move quietly through life, yet carry an energy that commands attention. They don't read minds, they read patterns, small, invisible signals most of us overlook. The twitch of an eyebrow, the hesitation before a word, the laugh that doesn't match the mood. They gather details the way a painter gathers colours, and with each subtle movement they begin to see the picture beneath your surface. Reading people isn't sorcery, it's skill, an art form not in books but in observation. Most people listen to respond. These people listen to understand. They don't just notice what you say, but how you breathe between words. They see the cracks in your confidence, the flicker in your eyes when guilt strikes, the slight shift in your tone when fear seeps through. To them, body language isn't background noise, it's a living, breathing language, and while the world rushes to speak, they find truth in the silence between sentences. But what no one tells you is that people who can read others instantly rarely chose to learn. They were forced to. Many grew up in unpredictable environments, where emotions changed faster than weather, where safety depended on prediction, not protection. They learned early that silence could scream louder than anger, and that every small signal mattered. They studied human behavior the way others studied textbooks, because understanding people became their survival instinct. This constant awareness wired their brains for sensitivity. Psychologists call it hyper-attunement, the ability to feel what others feel before those feelings are even spoken. It's empathy amplified, but it's heavy to carry. This kind of sensitivity is both a blessing and a curse. It allows them to connect deeply, yet it also exhausts them. They absorb the emotions of everyone around them until they can't tell where others end and they begin. They walk into a room and feel the tension before anyone speaks. They sense sadness disguised as laughter, conflict hiding behind politeness. You cannot lie to them convincingly because your body always confesses what your mouth conceals. They see micro-expressions, tiny flashes of truth, like lightning in your face. They don't even try to catch them. Their mind simply records, and still they remain calm. That's their secret weapon, stillness. They rarely rush to talk or fill silence with noise. They let quiet moments stretch, because silence is their microscope. When the noise stops, the real story surfaces. They watch, wait, and allow discomfort to reveal character. In stillness, masks slip, pretenses crumble, and authenticity breathes. They are not judging, they are witnessing. Their eyes capture what your words try to hide, collecting the scattered pieces of your truth while the rest of the world performs. But here lies the haunting part. They can't turn it off. Their awareness follows them like a shadow. Even in peace, they see through pretense, through charm, through the little deceptions people build to feel safe. When you can see the truth too easily, surprise dies. Life becomes predictable, and predictability breeds distance. They smile and play along, but inside they're detached, watching patterns repeat like scenes in a movie they've already seen too many times. Reading people stops being curiosity. It becomes armor, a way to stay one step ahead of disappointment. They start expecting less honesty from the world, not out of bitterness, but wisdom. Experience has shown them that authenticity is rare, and so they protect their peace by anticipating the act before it begins. Some call their ability intuition, others label it emotional intelligence, But beneath all definitions lies pure awareness. They don't see just what is shown, they see what is hidden. Every person, in their eyes, exists in two layers: the version the world is allowed to see, and the version that trembles underneath. And these readers of souls have learned to live between both layers, decoding the invisible language of emotion. They understand that confidence can mask insecurity, that the loudest voice often covers the deepest loneliness, that kindness can be armor and silence can scream louder than rage. They see that love and fear are born of the same heartbeat, just expressed in opposite directions. Once you begin to see people this way, you never return to ignorance. The world becomes transparent. Lies lose colour. Those who can read others instantly are not simply observers. They are interpreters of truth, translators of human contradiction. They don't just hear what's spoken, they feel what's meant, and that changes everything. There is a strange kind of power in understanding people too well. Once you learn to read them, their tricks stop working. The smiles that used to fool you lose their charm, the empty promises sound hollow, and the stories meant to impress only reveal insecurity. You begin to see beyond the words, through the tone, into the motive. You can tell when someone's pretending to care, when kindness hides manipulation, when a compliment carries strategy instead of sincerity. You don't argue, you don't expose them, you simply see them, and that silent awareness becomes your shield. Psychology says people like this have an overactive mirror neuron system. Their brains reflect the emotions of others as if they were their own. It's empathy turned into instinct, a kind of sixth sense that feels the atmosphere in a room before anyone speaks. But that gift is heavy. To feel everything means you must sometimes disappear. These people crave silence, not because they hate the world, but because they need to recover from it. Every crowd, every conversation leaves echoes inside them, fragments of emotion that linger too long, so they vanish, not in bitterness, but in self-defense. They retreat into solitude to clear the static, to separate their feelings from everyone else's. You'll see them standing alone, watching, quiet but alive with awareness. They aren't antisocial, they are saturated. They see too much, and it costs them peace. While others chase attention, they chase truth. They crave a kind of connection that isn't wrapped in performance. The world finds them distant, but they are simply looking for something real in a sea of noise. You can recognize them by their eyes, calm, steady, unreadable, yet filled with an ancient knowing. When they look at you, it feels like time slows down, as if they can hear the thoughts you never said out loud. They rarely interrupt because silence is their instrument. They listen fully, and that attention is disarming. Without realizing it, you start to reveal yourself. Your voice softens, your guard falls. True attention is rare, and under its weight, every mask begins to slip. Around them, people feel both safe and nervous, comforted and exposed. Safe because they are understood, nervous because they can't hide. It's not that these people intend to unveil others, it just happens. Yet the most extraordinary thing about them is restraint. They don't use their perception to manipulate, but to heal. They become protectors, teachers, quiet leaders. They recognize pain in others because they've known it themselves. They speak gently not because they're fragile, but because they understand that the loudest men often shout to silence their own fear. Their strength lies not in dominance, but in depth. They connect through presence, not performance. They don't demand attention. They draw it effortlessly because authenticity is magnetic. When they talk, people listen, not because the words are loud, but because they feel true. Psychologists speak of cognitive and emotional empathy, the mind's logic and the heart's feeling. Those who read others instantly possess both. Their intellect analyzes while their intuition synchronizes. It's a constant dance of thought and emotion, reason and instinct. But there's a price for this balance. They guard themselves. They reveal little. The more they understand others, the harder it becomes to be understood. They've seen what happens when truth is mishandled, so they protect theirs fiercely. They measure people not by charm, but by consistency. Not by words, but by energy. They never forget how someone made them feel, and they never mistake apologies for change. They move through the world like quiet detectors of sincerity. They can sense when love is genuine, when friendship is hollow, when loyalty is conditional. They don't waste time on explanations or revenge, they simply withdraw. Their peace doesn't come from control, it comes from clarity. But that clarity can be lonely. The deeper you see into people, the fewer people you can stand beside without feeling alone. The irony of understanding humanity is that it often leaves you isolated from it. Connection becomes rare because few are comfortable being truly seen, and yet that is what makes these people unforgettable. They are not cold, they are conscious, not detached, just careful. They've learned that real intimacy begins only where pretending ends. So when you meet someone who seems to see right through you, who reads your silence, your hesitation, your energy, don't fear it. They aren't here to judge or expose you. They're here to understand. Sometimes they understand you better than you do yourself. People like that are mirrors. They reflect the pieces of you you've ignored, the emotions you've buried, the truths you've disguised as logic. If you let them, they can show you who you are beneath the armor. And if you are one of them, one of those who feel too deeply and see too much, know that your sensitivity is not weakness. It's wisdom carved by pain, empathy sharpened by survival. Yes, it will make life heavier. You'll carry emotions that aren't yours, truths that others run from, and a loneliness that comes from knowing too much. But it will also make life real. You'll see what matters, you'll feel what others overlook, and you'll understand that beneath all the masks, every soul just wants to be recognized. You weren't meant to fit in, you were meant to perceive. You were meant to walk through chaos and find meaning in the noise, to look into eyes and find the story behind them, to remind the world that understanding is more powerful than judgment. And maybe that's the real psychology behind those who can read others instantly. It isn't about seeing through people, it's about seeing into them. It's the art of recognizing humanity beneath disguise, of touching truth in a world built on illusion. It's a rare light that doesn't blind, it reveals. And once you've seen the world through those eyes, there's no going back. Because when you can see people for who they truly are, you begin to see yourself for who you've always been. The observer, the empath, the silent reader of souls. In the end, the ability to read others is not about control, nor power, nor prediction. It's about presence, the quiet awareness that every person carries stories beneath their surface. Those who can read others instantly have learned to walk in these invisible spaces between words, where truth hides in hesitation and honesty trembles behind the eyes. They see emotion as language, energy as dialogue. To them, every heartbeat speaks, every silence explains. But true mastery isn't in what they see, it's in how they choose to see. The greatest readers of people are not hunters of weakness, they are guardians of understanding. They use perception to connect, not to conquer. They know that everyone wears a mask for a reason, and sometimes compassion reveals more than confrontation ever could. Their strength lies in empathy, their weapon is patience, and their power is restraint. With time, they realize something profound. To read others deeply, you must first read yourself. You can't understand the fears, desires, and contradictions of another human being without facing your own. That's why the path of perception is also the path of self-awareness. The deeper they see into others, the clearer they see into themselves. And maybe that's the secret. People who can read others instantly aren't gifted with magic. They are gifted with courage. The courage to feel in a world that numbs, to observe when others rush, to seek meaning where most see nothing. They remind us that understanding is the rarest form of love, and awareness is the beginning of wisdom. In a world obsessed with being heard, they choose to listen. In a world built on illusion, they choose to see. And that is what makes them unforgettable.